to share a couple poems from the book Saying Nothing, which is based on one of my shows from back in Chicago. And as you can see by evidence of all of my show pictures on the back cover. This first one is a true story, and it is called Freedom Just Past the Fence. After working for the Army for years repairing jet engines, I ended up being stationed in Pennsylvania one summer, repairing air conditioners and refrigerators. I'd only do a little work and then have nothing to do for a day or two. But one thing I do remember is that at this time the Cubans were defecting to the United States by boat. They'd sailed to Florida, and most of them dehydrated and all of them malnourished. The U.S. government didn't want them spreading diseases in our country, so when the Cubans would appear off the coast of Miami, the military would be waiting to make sure they were healthy. Well, all I knew was that they all got these Cubans into trucks that we called cattle cars that only had a few benches and trucked them up to Pennsylvania, where I was, and then they were, there where I was. And then the military gave them some shots to make sure they weren't dying. So these people, after escaping their country in a shoddy wooden boat, were taken by the U.S. military, headed up in box-studded trucks and shipped up the country so that they could be given shots and detained. These Cubans who came here wanting freedom now had to wait in a fenced-in area until they were tested and given food. And it was my job to make sure that their fridge and air conditioner was working. So I sat there for a day or two at a time, drinking cans of beer and looking out the window. I got a view of the razor wire fence, and all I remember was seeing all of these Cubans leaning on the chain link fence, wondering if this is what it was like to be free, holding onto the metal, looking out to what they were sure was freedom. This is a longer one, but I wanted to share it with you. I hope you appreciate it. It's called September 11th, 2001. I remember my husband getting ready for work, and I walked into to see the TV in the den, and I thought he was watching a movie. He said, "I don't think this is a movie. I think the World Trade Center has been struck." And we stared at the television and watched a plane fly into the second tower, and then watched the towers collapse. I can't even remember if my husband went to work that day, as I just stared at the TV. It took 2 days to get through to everyone. My friend and one brother-in-law rescheduled Pentagon meetings. And we tried to call his sister in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Our nephew heard the news reports and said that the Flight 93 landed 30 seconds later, the plane would have hit his school. My brother-in-law in New Jersey was supposed to be in the World Trade Centers for a meeting that day, but you see, he decided to not go to that meeting. Lucky him. And I remember watching the TV like it was some sort of zombie, thinking this was bigger than Pearl Harbor. More people died. This wasn't a military base. I had to do something. Maybe I could go there. I've traveled around the country by car before. I could drive there. Maybe I could stay with my husband's brother in Jersey and train in the Manhattan. My husband couldn't go. He said he had to go to work. So I took off in my car, paid the tolls on I-80. He even forgot my camera, got to his brother's place and after 1 in the morning. He told me what trains to take, but he said half the subway lines would be closed. So I trained from Jersey as far as I could, but I couldn't get close. But I thought, I walked 7 miles to work. That's no problem, an hour and a half. I can do that. I thought I could buy an instant camera at some small shop on my way to Ground Zero, and maybe I could take a film container so I could collect some of the building dust, because someone once gave me ashes from Mount St. Helens eruption, and I thought, I've lived through this. I should bring something back with me. I should something. But every store was closed when I tried to walk everywhere that day, and everything was congested. Businesses seemed closed, but you couldn't go anywhere. So, over 4 hours later, I got to Ground Zero, where I was wearing gym shoes and jeans and a bottle of sealed water in my backpack purse. I just wanted to get there to try to help. I don't know, to shovel things out of the way or to do something. But no one had maps of where everything was, and there were so many people there trying to help that they just told me that the best thing I could do was just stay clear of the way and make sure that people could do their job. And I stepped back, unable to do anything, unable to collect anything, unable to photograph anything, only able to stare like I was watching it on TV. I used when I wrote this poem, I used only lowercase when writing this, even when I said I'm only lowercase. When I watched the news on that first day, they showed people jumping out the window, their silhouettes of people looking like floating paper in a ticker tape parade, and all of this debris floating around. I had to keep telling myself, these are people. And when I looked around at all the remains from what was towering office buildings, I thought of the dust. I thought I was breathing this in, and I thought, I'm breathing in drywall. I'm breathing in paperwork. I'm breathing in people. So yes, I'm only lowercase. After what I've seen around me, I'm nothing. From a show I did 5 blocks from my house in Illinois, called Observations 9 and 6. I know I'm supposed to be a creative one, but I started my schooling in computer science engineering, and if I write anything, it's not creative. It's just what makes sense, which is how I feel. I fly in airplanes, I jump from airplanes, I pilot airplanes, trying to get closer to the stars. So maybe I'm not a writer, maybe I'm an observer, like an astronomer, looking out past the Kuiper belt, looking and trying to understand, trying to understand what makes everything. I have walked on the tops of glaciers, crouching down from the violent winds, looking down at the beginning of time. I watched solar storms from the geomagnetic aberrations of the aurora borealis from near the Arctic Circle. I may have even bought some potato vodka in Russia, or been there to hold your hand walking along the Great Wall of China. Molecule by molecule, we originate from stars. But outer space is a violent place, and if we are all linked, we feel the good and the bad. We see meteor showers while galaxies collide, watch comet tails in the night sky as comets smash into planets. We witness the death of stars. We learn from both the living and the dead, because yes, we are linked, and we are all observers, and I don't ever want to let you go.